Hey everyone, welcome back to Prairie Wings. I'm Merle, and I've been busy with a die grinder. What we're going to do in this video is we are going to build an intake system for this little Corvair, and we're starting with the engine out, but it is going to be in the car, and we're going to actually build all the way from the head all the way up into throttle body and air filters. Here's what I'm starting out with. I just CNC'd out a couple flanges that match where the carburetor is bolted onto the head, and we're going to be building an intake because the throttle body is going to be up top. But so this bolts on properly, and then I took, and these are 1.5 inch tube, and they actually fit perfectly. The idea, this is a little bit bigger than where the carb went on that thing. So what I've done is I took, and I am just seriously aggressively die grinding this out, and this just about fits in anyways, and I've taken and tapped this one into that recess that I made, and I'm going to weld it out, and we will have the very start of our intake that bolts on to the cylinder head. And here they are, welded together and cleaned up a little bit, bolted on temporarily. Those are not the permanent bolts. And I got both sides going on there, and it's looking pretty styling. Now, to mount the throttle body up here, I got a 56 mil throttle body off a little Ford Mustang V6. I've cut out a flange and tapped a 3-inch piece of aluminum tubing in, and I'm going to be capping this off, and we'll be mounting that throttle body up somewhere here in the middle, and we'll be running tubes to where the throttle body goes. So I'm just going to get this welded together and ready to go. Okay, so I have the throttle body bolted onto the piece that I have welded together, and you're going to notice that a lot of these pieces I've cleaned up. I've done kind of a polish on them. They're not finished polished, but the reason I'm doing that is because when I finish doing all of this, if I had to rough everything out, it'd be all in little nooks and crannies, because we have to drill some holes in here, attach the runners that go down to the cylinder heads, vacuum lines, and so on. So by me getting them rough polished in the beginning, it's going to save a lot of trying to get into corners to do polishing. So that's why that looks like that. Now, what I have here is these are 1.5 inch, which is a little bit bigger than the hole going into the cylinder head. And then I'm going up to 2 inch. And the reason for that is kind of, I guess, funny. 1.5 inch bends weren't readily available. So I went to 2 inch, which is kind of going to look really cool, I think, anyways. And it's making more of a volume in the intake. Hopefully that's going to build some more power for this air-cooled little engine. And so the next steps that I have to do is I'm going to kind of mock this into place and then cut this tube off, and then we're going to have to extend this to make it reach into here. But that is the next step, so we'll see how that goes. I have it all kind of mocked up right now, and I'm going to tack it in place, and this is what we got so far. It is, I think, kind of a bit of a cool factor. I do actually have 1/2 inch clearance underneath here, so a belt can actually be changed without having to remove all this. And that's really cool. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to tack it into place and basically get that part of it all mocked up. Now, we are going to have to, I was going to change this to a cable throttle, but I really think the cool factor of having this mechanical gas pedal linkage is worth it. And I actually think, even though it's a little crazy, I think a mechanical linkage might actually work better than a cable. And the reason why is this throttle blade, in order for it to move the whole way, we're going to have a mechanical advantage. So with a cable, we wouldn't be able to do that. I guess we could put a mechanical advantage down there, But I'm gonna have to figure out a way that I can make this have a mechanical advantage, because the throttle body moves farther than the throttle pedal will allow. So I think we're gonna have some really neat looking linkage going on to this thing. Carrying on with building the intake, I know we were talking about setting up the throttle linkage and finishing the intake, and while I get pretty excited sometimes and I don't set up the cameras and I don't even remember what I had started, because sometimes I'm jumping around from job to job, but this happened. Sorry, I didn't record any of the building of this other than the sensors and all that kind of stuff. There's tons of videos coming on the rest of it, but let's look at the intake, go back to that. So where we were is we were tacking together the intake. Well, of course I got it all welded out. I made the air cleaner system. I added the water methanol injector, which is going to be here. I have vacuum ports in the back. I have a PCV system. So what I did is I took and I used the original parts and I put a PCV valve in and added that port into the intake. And then for the breather, I actually just took and machined the cap and put a breather cap on the fill cap. So that should keep this pretty clean. I think it looks pretty good. And then we were talking about the throttle linkage and the advantage that we needed with this throttle linkage. And so I guess I'll take you over to this side and we'll start where I started. And this rod here, I had to remake it, make it a bunch longer, and it comes out right here. And then this stuff here was all flat material, stainless, that I plasmaed out. I had a piece of stainless rod. And then on the other side, if you take a look, these are all also stainless flat. And then I machined a little pin to go through that's out of stainless. This right here, I ended up using an accelerator pump out of a carb kit to make this little arm. I took the throttle body and I cut all the junk off and added this arm for more leverage. And then if you actually activate this rod, well, I think it worked out pretty cool. I got full throttle travel with full throttle in the car. And as far as I'm concerned, that's pretty cool factor. The other stuff that I didn't video, so the sensors and all the computer stuff that I have on here is gonna be on videos. There's lots of videos for that. The air filters up here, these air filters are cone air filters in here. I added these ends on because the air in this car comes through here, and I wanted to scoop up the air as it's coming by to the cooling fan here. So we still have our cooling fan working, and we're grabbing air from both sides into the throttle body. I have my manifold air temperature sensor hidden underneath here. I have a fuel line coming in that goes across and feeds that big fuel filter. From that fuel filter, it wires off to each side of the injectors. So the injectors all get fed with the fuel lines. And then I have a return line coming across to the regulator over here. And so one side feeds here, the other side feeds here. And then I have the return line coming out and going back up to the tank. So I guess that's it for the fuel system. And then I had to build some mounts, which I still have to finish. These coil mounts, I have to put some supports on and a few things like that. But this here is mounted really nice and solid. Of course, it's got these rubber boots on here, and I got to build some supports to hold the air filter system. I'm sorry that I didn't record all of this going together. Honestly, just enjoyed doing it. And you kind of just get into the groove and start going, and that's what happened with this. So anyway, I hope this video is got enough information on how this was actually built. You can kind of see it together. And If you have any comments or questions about this, definitely leave those in the comment section. I'll answer what I can about it. It is going to be polished when this thing goes back together. I can't wait for this engine to be rebuilt and put back together in the end. Well, I'm going to be sad because the car will be done. But if you don't mind, please like, share, and subscribe.